Hello on the Rockers. On this week's episodes, it's a special Zoom edition from the East Coast with two-time Tony Award winner Judy Kaye from Phantom, Diana, Cinderella, Mamma Mia, Wicked, Anastasia, and so much more with my guest co-host, cabaret and recording artist Travis Moser, with me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin. It's On the Rocks.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Lord have mercy, buttons and bows and pantyhose, On the Rocks podcast, the place where we're too glam to give a damn. We are zooming in for this very special edition. My guests, of course, are Broadway babies on the East Coast, and I'm in P-Town for Carnival. Hey! Like us on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks on Air, and on Facebook, On the Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at ontherocksradioshow.com. This show is presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our now over 300 episodes at ontherocksradioshow.com, or watch us on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, on the Out.tv app, Facebook Watch, streaming with pride on SVTV, and on Channel 31 in Boston. Who knew Boston? All right, let's get this show on the road. My guest co-host today, Travis Moser, described by BroadwayWorld.com as a gifted storyteller, as well as an excellent vocalist, cabaret, concert, and recording artist. Travis previously played out sold-out engagements and guest appearances at Feinstein's 54 Below, the Green Room 42, Joe's Pub at the Public Theater, Birdland, Highline Ballroom, Brooklyn Bowl, and many other venues in NYC and across the country. His most recent solo EP with pianist Drew Wuck, So Many People, the Sondheim Sessions, was featured in Playbill and won the Broadway World Cabaret Award for Best Recording. All his recordings are streaming, and he and our Tony Award-winning guest will be appearing in Someday Soon, the music of Judy Collins, in the Loft at City Winery on Monday, August 22nd. Please welcome Travis Moser.
Hello.
Hello. You always look so clean cut and like ready to go.
Oh, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go.
You know, every time I like look at you on Instagram or something, you're doing another concert, you're doing another show, you have a new concept, you have a new album. Do you ever sleep?
I could ask the same thing of you, but yes, I definitely sleep, but I'm always trying to think of ways to highlight the people and artists and songwriters that I feel passionate about, and this is definitely one of those.
You've covered Sondheim, you've covered Linda Ronstadt, now the music of Judy Collins. Why Judy Collins?
Well, I was saying to somebody that this is kind of my next step in my tour of internationally and globally appreciated female artists that I feel don't get enough attention. So to me, Judy Collins is, such an inspiration just because she's, a social activist. She's an amazing songwriter in her own right. She introduced the world to some of the most beloved songs. And I feel that she doesn't really get as much notoriety or appreciation as some of her peers. And, I grew up listening to her music, and she's one of those performers like Linda Ronstadt, who you were kind enough to talk to me last time with that show, that, sings so many different, from so many different genres, that that's something I really connect with. So she's singing, Sondheim, folk, pop, musical theater, and she's incredible. I actually just saw her at Town Hall here in New York City in December, and she's still, going strong, a 2.5-hour show, playing all the instruments, singing, and is a chance to sing a bunch of different types of music and kind of honor her and highlight her a little bit.
What's funny, her doing a 2.5-hour show, she's a veteran, like she is like professional. These new kids get up, you wait an hour late because they don't get on stage an hour later. Then they sing 4 songs and then that's it. You're like, yeah. Come on, yeah. Gaga, what's going on? I
know. And that's the thing. It's like she released this year her first ever album of all original music. The album before this, Winter Stories, was her first #1 album, and she just turned I believe 83. So
Yeah.
and she's performing constantly all the time, and to me that is such an inspiration of like to stay relevant. You have to stay curious, staying active, being interested. She's always looking at new songwriters, new performers, new venues, and it just seemed like a perfect next move after my Linda Ronstadt show.
And there is this connection to Sondheim, which I know you had, especially through COVID. Sondheim got you through COVID. I think Sondheim got us a lot through COVID.
Definitely.
So there's that definite connection. Okay, I have to know, how did you come in contact with two-time Tony Award winner Judy Kaye? It'd be like, hey, Judy, I have a show. Why don't you sing a few songs?
Well, basically, when I was putting the show together, I knew that Send in the Clowns would be, and some of the Sondheim music would be, a big part of it. And I wanted someone really special and really that had the gravitas to sing that song, to do it. And I was listening to a whole bunch of music, and I actually came across, I had heard this before, it's saved on my Apple Music, but I was listening to Judy's version of Wait from Sweeney Todd that was recorded on a J Records, The Musicality of Stephen Sondheim album. And it's one of my favorite versions of that song. And I thought, it would be phenomenal. I mean, I love the Sondheim that Judy has performed. I actually saw her do Sweeney Todd, the John Doyle production. Yeah. And I grew up loving the live Sondheim album and whatnot. So I love the song that she's done, but I felt like, God, I'd love to hear her sing even more Sondheim. And so, from hearing that version of Wait from Sweeney Todd, I kind of got the idea. Then I kind of, found some in ways and whatnot through her management and whatnot. And I just asked, like, would you be interested in doing this? It's a really cool venue. City Winery, is pretty phenomenal here in New York City. I mean, it's, Dionne Warwick, Amy Schumer, and Seth Meyers, it's becoming like kind of the new up and coming spot. And when I got booked there, I wanted somebody really special. So I reached out, and lucky enough for me, she agreed to do it, and it's going to be pretty insane, because I am a huge admirer of her and her work, and I've seen her live several times, so to be sharing a stage with her is going to be pretty incredible.
I love that you just took the initiative. I tell young podcasters that come out and be like, just ask. You never know if you don't ask. And if it doesn't happen today, it could happen next year or the year after. But just do the work, get the initiative, and ask, because look what happens.
Exactly. And that's what I always say to people that are asking me about like putting on shows and doing cabarets and doing concerts. It's like, just like try to do it and put your feelers out there and ask people and connect with people. And you have to kind of, you kind of have to make things happen for yourself. So it's pretty great.
All right, Travis, so you are my guest co-host today, keeping me on track. Let's introduce her, the lady of the hour, Judy Kaye, who most recently portrayed the role of Queen Elizabeth Diana, the musical on Broadway and on Netflix, by the way, received the 2012 Tony Award, her second. The first we know is Carlotta in Phantom, as well as the Drama Desk and the Outer Critics Circle Award for her work as the high-flying Duchess Estonia Dulworth in Nice Work If You Can Get It. She was also nominated for Mamma Mia and Souvenir. She came to prominence playing Lily Garland in the original production of On the 20th Century. She twice received the Theatre LA Ovation Award for her work in Ragtime, as well as the melodically challenged Florence Foster Jenkins in Souvenir. In her career that spans 5 decades, she has played characters in concert halls across America and Europe with roles such as Lucy Van Pelt, Rizzo, Maria von Trapp, Emma Goldman, Mrs. Lovett, Grandma Kernitz in Lost in Yonkers, and her recent Broadway appearances include roles in Cinderella, Wicked, Anastasia. She also has done tons of opera. She has sung with symphony orchestras throughout the U.S. and Europe, twice at the White House, by the way. I wonder if the FBI was raiding it at the time or not, but we'll find out. She has many, many recordings, and I had the ultimate pleasure for the last 3 days going in my Judy Kaye hole and listening to all of these recordings from the early times to recent, and what a joy. Please welcome Judy Kaye. Hello, Judy.
Hi there. I blush.
I mean, it's when
and I'm exhausted listening to all that. Wow, I did all that. Wow.
But it is funny because it's like, oh yeah, Judy Kaye this, Judy Kaye this. When you actually sit down and look at the breadth of work, it's pretty phenomenal. And there's so many fabulous interviews and articles about your career. But I want to know the missing chunk. How does a Phoenix, Arizona-born gal end up studying drama and voice at UCLA? Did you do theater growing up, or what was kind of that inspiration to get into the biz?
Oh, I am told that I came out singing and dancing, so I think it was a foregone conclusion. I have in my bedroom a wonderful piece of furniture. My mother, who I just lost at 103, when I was like 5 years old, took this dresser and painted it with who I was up to that point. And it on the side it says toujours chanter, toujours danser. I was just always doing it. I couldn't be held down. So it didn't occur to me though that I could do it for a living until I was I went to UCLA and I wanted to be in theater, but I thought I was probably going to teach creative dramatics to little kids. I had a boyfriend who had been doing that, and I admired it. Actually, I had been a student of that when I was a little kid in Phoenix, and so I thought, well, that's a good thing. That's what I'll do, because I'll never get a job doing anything else. And then I started studying this, and I was in classes with little kids and trying to teach, and I realized I'm not a teacher. I'm too much of a ham. I'm a performer. I'm a performer. And so I had these little things that I would do to sort of mark my moments of knowing whether I was actually at least attempting to be a professional performer. And one of them was taking the Daily Variety. When I bought the trades, I said, aha, now I'm a professional. Now I'm in show business. And then I went on my first audition, and actually I started getting jobs, right, kind of quickly. It's a little embarrassing. I was very fortunate. I had auditioned for my first chorus job, which would have been when I joined Actors Equity in 1967. So I was going to UCLA, and I had a car, the only one amongst my friends. So I drove us all out to Anaheim, California, to Melodyland Theater, which is now a church by Disneyland. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And I got, after a couple of auditions, I got cast in the chorus for that summer, and I got my equity card for $90 to join Actors Equity. And when I was a kid, I would go to whatever theater was there. I did some community theater. I did stuff in high school, in the theater department. If I wasn't in it, I was running the lights or painting sets, or I had to be around it. I'm like all the kids out there who still are doing that.
Well, and it's like I was talking with Travis. It's that initiative. It's like, let's do it. It's going to happen. Work hard and just make it work. I have to tell you, it was so funny. Every time I talk about you in conversation, and even here in LA, everybody's talking about Judy Kaye. Like, you are just always part of theater conversation. But I always want to say Dame Judy Kaye. Like, it just sounds like it's there. And I was like, how come they're not calling her Dame in any of this research I'm doing? Because in my mind, you are Dame Judy Kaye. Like, it's just there. Now, you aren't too off from royalty, though, from playing the Queen. And I want to know how you approached playing the character Queen Elizabeth for Diana, a figurehead that we all quote unquote know, and we've seen many iterations on screen and on stage. How did you make her yours?
Well, I had to make a deal with myself, as I always do. How do I play anything? I have to find out what this person wants, who this person is, what they like, what they don't like, what makes them wake up in the morning and go to bed at night. And it's the same whether they're a real person, and as it turns out, whether they're alive or not. And of course, I've seen all these other wonderful portrayals before I ever was cast in this thing. So I had to sort of put all that aside, because I couldn't be those people I couldn't be really her. I thought if I tried to do her voice, which is more sort of reedy and a little higher, that a night of listening to that would probably make people go running up the aisles and slitting their wrists. So I thought, I can't do that. So I just had to be kind of me. And after all, this was a Queen Elizabeth in a musical, right? Not Queen Elizabeth in The Crown or Queen Elizabeth, right. And none of those. This is a musical, and I just had this. I guess I'll sum it up. I just started at the beginning again, like I start with any character from Lucy Van Pelt to, Lilibet.
Well, and making a role your own has come in many forms in your career. Of course, performing well-known roles such as Mrs. Lovett, Nett and Julian Carousel, Annie Oakley, Maria in Sound of Music, Mary Magdalene, Jesus Christ Superstar. But let's talk about the early years of taking over a role or doing a role that somebody else has done. You made your Broadway debut as a replacement for Rizzo in Grease. And, going back from those early years at UCLA, reading the trades and then being your first opening Broadway night as a replacement. I know it was many years ago, but do you remember what was kind of going through your mind on your opening night on Broadway? Like, hey, I'm here. Like, it's happening.
Well, yeah, I didn't take over that role on Broadway until 1977. So the first, what was actually it was the summer of 77. Between ourselves, it was the summer before I went into On the 20th Century. So yes, you're right. But that was after I had done it on tour with the brilliant First National Company. We just celebrated our 50th anniversary.
Oh my God!
We had such a good time. Oh my God, we had a big party at Sardi's, and Mary Lou Henner put together a cabaret at 54 Below, and a bunch of us who had done the show with her and in other places, we got up and sort of reprised our little bits and stuff, and it was so special. It was so special. But that, I guess, funny, I never thought of that being my opening night on Broadway, but I guess it was.
Yeah. Because
the night that I took over night I first went on for Madeline Kahn, I felt like my first night on Broadway, because that was incredible. That was thrilling. The night I went on in Grease, I just was back with an old friend, Oh, I'm in this theater now. It didn't actually feel like, because the show had been running a very long time.
Right.
It was incredible legs that thing had and has, and I don't know if any of us realized at the time that we were doing it, how important it would be in all of our lives. But.
Well, and in talking about Madeline Kahn on the 20th Century, I want to know your audition for Hal Prince. Do you remember what you auditioned with?
Oh yeah. Because the first time I auditioned for him was for a company. They were doing bringing company to LA after it had closed in New York, and there was one member of the cast who wasn't going with them, which was the person cast as April, the stewardess. We don't say that anymore, the flight attendant, right? And none of us on the West Coast had seen it. I mean, we didn't have a chance. It really didn't last very long on Broadway. And I went in and did one of the 3 worst auditions I ever did for Hal, and it was my first. I thought it was terrible. I don't remember a lot about it, except I thought, boy, I'm just a phony doing this stuff. I just feel phony. And then the next time was for the revival of Candide on Broadway, to replace. And that was for the old lady. And that went very well. And he asked me to join the company, and I demurred several times because I couldn't afford to do it. It was paying so badly. Wow. That I couldn't afford to do it. And and people think I was an idiot then. They thought I was then. They do now. But it was, so that's what happened there. And then I get a call. I'm doing Jesus Christ Superstar again at a Paper Mill Playhouse. And I get a call from Hal's casting person, Joanna Merlin, Hal wants to see me, that there's really nothing for me in the show, but that he wanted to see me again. So I said, well, great. I'm there. I had seen the old movie, and I loved the thing. And I thought, well, I'm never going to get cast in that. So let's just go and have a good time, right? I'm going to see Hal. I adore this man. He is, he over time, through all of the times he didn't hire me, he became something of a mentor. And I went and I sang Glitter and Be Gay. I had sung for the old lady, so I was singing, I was not born in sunny Hispania. So for the last audition, I thought, what the hell? This is a soprano, so I'll sing Glitter and Be Gay. So I went and I did that, and I had all the notes then, which I don't anymore. In case you're wondering, I did have them then very nicely. And as I was going home, and I read the script for them, and I was getting laughs, which was wonderful. And I knew that there really wasn't anything for me to do, but I knew when I got off the subway into my rented apartment, my sublet apartment, that I was going to get a phone call, and I just knew it was going to be to understudy. Something I really didn't want to do, because I thought, if I, at this point in my life, start understudying, that's all I'm ever going to do. And I have too big an ego to do it. It's an incredible job. Could work forever if I could do it, but it's the hardest damn job in show business. And it would be, for me, it would have been a trap. So I turned him down.
Wow.
And then I turned him down again. And I was about to turn him down a third time when a friend of mine said, if the person who took this job someday is on, say, the Tonight Show, being interviewed, are you going to kick yourself because you didn't take this job? And I thought, you know what? They're right. So I took the job because I knew that he had given me assurances that if I was unhappy, if I was really unhappy doing this job, in 6 months from the first day of rehearsal, I could leave. So I took it, and then I showed up first day of rehearsal like a tourist with a wall and with a tape recorder and a camera, a great big. I was an idiot. I was a total idiot. I still am. So, and it was an amazing experience. The whole thing. Oh my God.
And what, just out of curiosity, because I love these stories and everything about on the 20th century time. What was your relationship like with Madeline at that time? Were you close with her? Like, did you talk to her? Like, were you kept like apart? What was kind of the relationship there?
She was very dear. She was very, very warm to me, but there were some really uncomfortable moments. Because for instance, in rehearsal, early on in rehearsals, Larry Fuller, our esteemed choreographer, was trying, choreographers try stuff. They don't just come in the first day with the whole damn thing done and it's frozen and it's what it's going to be forever. They have to see how stuff works. Especially when they're surrounding a great star, like Madeline. But she really did not want to be at those rehearsals. She did not want to be there. And so I had nothing else to do. So I went to him and I said, if you need a body to stage things around, I'd be happy to do that because it'll help me learn what I have to learn too.
Right.
And so I did that. And that sort of led to some uncomfortable moments when he would have me, and I didn't even know it at the time that she was there, but have me get up and do the number, a big number in the show, with her sitting there watching it. So it was some discomfort. I mean, I'm not going to lie. She was very sweet. I tried to give her distance and be, supportive and be like with the rest of the company, which is what I wanted to be anyway. I wanted to be, part of this magnificent company of singing actors and dancers. And it was an incredible group, and it was a huge show. We were still doing big shows.
Yeah.
And so she was very sweet to me. And then when I took over the show, when she left and they gave me the job, she second acted the show one night with her boyfriend. She came and she showed up at the dressing room after the show with champagne and flowers for. It was
Wow.
very, very dear.
Wow.
She was very, very classy, very lovely.
Wow.
And she was brilliant. For some reason, the show scared her or something, and I would listen to her, over the PA, and I would hear her one night being outrageously magnificent, funny, and singing gorgeously, and then like the next night, sort of not able to, taking alternate endings of songs, and I don't know. It was complicated. It was very
intimidating.
And I don't know if I don't think I was intimidating. I think she was just scared of eight shows a week.
Yeah.
I think she had been brought up to be scared of 8 shows a week. And I think her mother, who was her vocal teacher, frightened her into thinking, you just can't do that and keep doing it. So, and it's hard. That is true. It is very, very, very hard.
Well, I think it's so important to share these stories, especially about, some of these iconic names like Madeline Kahn and like yourself, because at the end of the day, even, the biggest divas of Broadway, everybody's still a real person. Every person is still a performer. Everybody has vocal issues. Everybody has nerves. These are things that every performer has to go through. It's an equal playing ground at that point. And I also love how Broadway is now appreciating understudies, and now they're being celebrating. And now it's not such a pigeonhole situation when you do take an understudy role. So I think that has definitely changed. Okay, I have an inappropriate question. On the 20th century, with Kevin Kline, at that point, he was known as quite the ladies' man. I have to know, were there any flirtation? Any shenanigans, Judy Kaye?
Oh God, I wish it had been. No, we spent a lot of time together too, but he was a sweet, perfect gentleman with me. I think I put off this, like, just stay away from me vibe. I don't know. I have been told this through the years. That, I used to say, man, I was never, ever chased around a desk. Nobody ever wanted to do that.
There's still time.
You got be with a walker, right? No. Sadly, no.
Yes, but you did.
I seem to have aided and abetted every now and then, but I was not the one. I was never the one.
But you actually met your husband on the 20th century, and I have to know,
it was. Well, let's see. There's the 20th century up.
Yeah.
There. See.
Yeah.
And I have another poster when he and I met. Yes, the bus and truck to hell. Yeah.
I have to know.
We lovingly call it
a marriage that has lasted through your breadth of work. How do you make a relationship work when you have late hours? You're in rehearsal hours after hours. You're with hot chorus boys all the time. How do you make a relationship work? What are some of the keys to success?
I don't know. I think I've been very lucky. I don't know that many relationships that would have worked this well. But first of all, we were both grown-ups. I was well into my 30s when we met, and he was just knocking on the door of 40 and above. And he had been married. I had not, but I had lived with people. And has to be a lot of forbearance and understanding. There just has to be, and a lot of people say, well, I don't want to be with a fellow performer. I don't think anybody but a fellow performer can understand how all of this happens and how, and the pressures of it and how hard it is. And yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy, but we have helped each other. When he's got a job, I cook for him. When I've got a job, he cooks for me. We make it work. We are, after all, we're a family and we're a company together. We're all working toward the same end, which is a good life together. So we do it for a living, and he understands that. I understand that. Yeah, it's hard. I won't say it isn't difficult sometimes, but I'm really glad that we were both grown-ups and we had both lived a little by the time we met,
That's beautifully said. And I know, Travis, you're making it work too in a relationship. And here I am with 42 cats. Single forever. All right, Judy, we have to talk about Phantom. Carlotta, with all the drastic changes on Broadway in the last decade, it's easy to forget how much Phantom changed the musical scene. The show became a mainstream hit to this day, and you were there at the beginning, working with Andrew Lloyd Webber, his wife, Sarah Brightman. What was that process like, putting the show together? What story kind of sticks out about that experience?
We were not the first.
Take a sip of wine, Judy.
Production was a game. I will. We were the original American company. Yes.
Right. Yes.
Which we had to keep kind of saying that. That's why we never got to do our own album, because Andrew figured, well, I did it already.
Yeah.
The cast is the same. No, the cast was not the same. Those three people were the same, but there were other people with wonderful gifts and a point of view that was different from the London. So in a sense, it was the same, but we were very different people. American musical theater actors are different than British musical theater actors. First of all, musical theater it's changed over there a bit, but it came out of a different tradition, which was the pantomimes and the very presentational music hall way of selling a song. And it's not usually, when I go to Britain and when I go to London, I see shows. And I think the thing that they do so magnificently with straight plays, with Shakespeare and everything else, they don't always take into the musical. Sometimes it just it's very different to me.
Yeah.
So we had our cast, and the thing that I remember most is that I like I said with Queen Elizabeth, I'd pick up a piece of material and I'd say, well, who is this person? And what do they want? What happened yesterday to them? What's happening tomorrow to them? How do they feel about their situation? And it's the thing that I think all good actors do anyway. They ask, there's intuition, but there's also these basic questions of if I don't hit these marks with this character, then I'm not telling the story. And I had already done some opera, and I had been around some pretty interesting divas. And I mean, I had one, God bless her name. I had done Bohème, and I was playing Musetta, and the wonderful woman who was playing Mimi. We were playing in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and we did our dress rehearsal, and then we had a day off, and then the premiere, the opening night, right? And for me, that was like, geez, I get a day off. That's not a good thing. I shouldn't have a day off there. I need to just get up and then do it, right? Well, she came to me and said, Judy, I must have 2 days. You must tell them we have to have 2 days. We cannot do this with 1 day. I said, no, you're talking to the wrong girl. I usually do the dress rehearsal in the afternoon and open it at night. So come on, be honest here. No one's going to believe me when I say we have to have 2 days. So there was some of that, that I brought with me. And I thought, they're very sincere and they're very wonderful, but they're very funny people. And, so I thought, there's such romance, such sexual tension in Phantom, and it's the brocades are thick and the velvet is thick and it's all thick, and you need some comedy to offset this. So Hal kept coming to me and he kept saying, Judy, no, it's just too funny. You can't do that. I said, I have to do it, Hal. It has to be. He said, but you have to be more afraid of the Phantom. I said, if I'm any more afraid of that Phantom, Actors Equity is going to come and rip my card right out of my wallet. They're going to take me up on charges. So I have to. So anyway, that was one of the stories of that. And then there was the night that Sarah left, and I had done a reading for Andrew of what turned out to be Aspects of Love. We had
Oh, wow.
just a reading of one act of it up in the apartment in Trump Tower, you know, and Steven Spielberg was there because Andrew thought he had written a movie.
Yeah.
And Steven let him know he didn't. But but so that this evening that Sarah is leaving and we're all having champagne on the stage, as we did quite often actually. And I sort of girded my loins and I said, hey, so how's Aspects going? And he said, oh, well, it's going well. It's going very well. But we are having a devil of a time casting the girl, you know. And I said, oh, really? He said, yes, well, she has to go from 18 to 55. And I said, oh, okay, well, like a stupid idiot, I said, well, you know, and I do. I went from 17 to 88. He said, oh, yes, but she does have to be a great beauty.
Oh,
and I
Oh,
went,
my God.
oh, I went, okay, get that arrow right out of my neck.
Oh, my
Take it in,
God.
throw it away. So I thought, well, okay. Those are my Phantom stories. It was great being with the people and with Hal, and it was really fun. It was to be in a show that is a big hit like that that's been running a while somewhere else. I sort of felt like I was working for General Motors, and the character would come down the conveyor belt, and I would put some high notes, and some maybe a little comedy, even though, when no one was looking, and keep it going. And
how long did you stay with Phantom?
I was there a year.
Okay.
Because I started getting asked to do some things because because of that I was an opera singer now, don't you know? It was something I did, and behind the opera was never my. I had started out in the opera workshop at UCLA, and I pretty quickly on discovered that that was not going to be my life, So I moved on from it. But once in this business, once you do something, and if you do it with any success, and a Tony Award with success, then that's what you do. So I had trouble getting any work after that. Because I was now an opera singer and 40 years old. So, yeah,
that's interesting. But let's talk about shows that you stayed longer than a year. Emma Goldman in Ragtime, the only principal who stayed with the show for its entire run. I have an actor friend.
Is that true?
Yeah, it is 100% true.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And so my actor friend knew I was talking to you today, and he's a huge fan. He wants to know how did Emma Goldman change over those 3 years? And how did you change as a person from doing that role for so long?
Gosh, I don't know if it changed. Only from the outside would people know that it changed. I did a lot of research on her, and I dug down. I am known to my family and friends as Miss Truth in Advertising. So it wasn't too hard for me to play a firebrand, person who was shaking her fist all the time. That in some ways is me in life anyway. I so loved doing that show. I so loved being around that show. I would stand in the wings. I couldn't stand in the wings too much before I'd go on though, because invariably I would start sobbing.
Wow.
The thing that would happen before every one of my entrances was something emotional and huge, and it would always just take my breath away. And so I had to be very careful about it. I learned that in the workshop that the show overwhelmed me. It still does. If I hear any of that music, especially if I'm on an airplane and I hear that music, I just start sobbing.
Yeah. And what an amazing cast. It's like, it's that pinpoint of history that might not come around again. I mean, that was a remarkable cast. In my opinion, it should still be running, if not in the Ford Theater somewhere. Well, it's not the Ford anymore, is it? Somewhere. But doing the workshops, doing it in Los Angeles, and then opening it in New York, I felt very, very fortunate and blessed. An overused term, to say the least, but to be among those people, those colleagues, and that piece, that gorgeous music.
I'm very proud to have been part of that.
Yeah, that was the first time I saw you live, was in Ragtime, that original production, and it just is, like you said, absolutely gorgeous. Journey On, that song, when that comes on, that the immigrant experience just it blows
that
me
was
away.
one of the time I had to come on right after that, you know.
Yeah.
Da da dee da 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 da. You know, the
Yes.
young brother. I could not watch that. I could not watch that. I mean, those are my people coming through those gates.
Exactly.
All right, Judy, we're going to spill the tea just a bit. Your role as Rosie in Mamma Mia, Tony nomination, it kind of started the jukebox musical craze. Not that it was a jukebox musical per se, but it was from a pop group, songs put together. We know
it was
that
a jukebox musical.
Well, yeah,
it absolutely is.
Okay.
And a really, really good one.
Very good.
And from your standpoint, you know, debuting new pieces, but also taking on classic roles, what is your take on the current evolution of Broadway? I know there's old school Broadway that's saying movie musicals, more jukebox musicals. Some say it's the end of Broadway. What's happened to Broadway? What is your take on seeing this kind of evolution?
Broadway has always been a place of artistic diversity, if not human diversity. We're only learning that now, finally, thank God. But in the day when, you know, in the 30s and the 40s, you'd have a girly review next to what we would call a tired businessman show. You'd have Rodgers and Hammerstein next to Eugene O'Neill. You'd have, I mean, it was all everything. It was Follies, and I mean the old Follies, not the Sondheim Follies, but the original one. You know, it was all of that, and always one man shows. You know, someone would do a concert or you know, burlesque, vaudeville, all of it was there, and so there's a place for everything, I think, and just has to be an audience for all of it. You have to find you have to find your audience. I mean, I went to see a Strange Loop the other night. That show broke my heart. It just overwhelmed me, and it wasn't what I mean. 2 nights before, I had gone to see The Music Man. You know, and I love that too. It always astonishes me, and I don't think it's any different now. And I think we'll mine whatever we can to create whatever people want to see, you know, and what artists want to express. Obviously, Strange Loop is a very personal piece for that playwright, and that it's genius. It just is. I sort of felt like I was trespassing, like I was somehow didn't belong there. That was so personal, and yet he made me understand everything, you know. So there's that, and all the Sondheim revivals that we're going to have, that shows that should have done better the first time around are now being accepted, you know. So I think we're in really good shape. We just have to get healthy as a city. We have to get everybody back into the seats. It's going to take a long time. It's before we are really out of this awful, you know, pandemic mess. It really has created problems for selling tickets. And I mean, Diana might have lasted through the holidays and beyond, even with our awful reviews and everything else, though I completely disagree with them. But Omicron killed us, you know, and that's how did company close so quickly? Omicron, you know, we have to figure a way through this, and it's just going to take time, like the rest of society, I think.
Well, I have to tell you, it's dire out here in Los Angeles. We've been able to speak to the cast of Dear Evan Hansen and Prom coming up, and even Moulin Rouge, these big shows that are coming through with great actors, and audiences are scarce, even the biggest show, because people are afraid to go to theater, people are afraid to go out, or they're not able to afford it at this point because everybody's broke right now.
It's hard.
Exactly.
We're in a very tough place.
Yeah. But let's hope. And like, what a prime time for Ragtime to come back socially, politically, or the movie version.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Judy, we're gonna do a little rapid fire. What role really sticks out to you as your favorite?
Oh God, why do people ask me this question? That's not fair.
It's so cheesy, but I love the question.
Well, I love doing Souvenir. I love doing that. I love doing Lily Garland. Of roles.
Can I ask you really quickly, because that is one of my
Please.
favorite roles of yours, was Souvenir. How did that come about, and what was that process like of bringing that to Broadway? I mean, I know a lot of people be familiar with it from the Florence Foster Jenkins movie, but how was that process? Where did it start? How did you become involved with it? That's one of my favorite performances of yours.
So there's a wonderful actor and playwright named Stephen Temperley, and he was the husband of Vivian Matalon, who was a great Broadway director. Had a Tony Award for Mornings at 7 many years ago, and the two of them, Stephen was looking around for something to write about, and Vivian suggested writing something about this actual person, Florence Foster Jenkins. So that set Stephen on a long journey of learning about her and then writing this amazing play. I believe with all my heart that the movie that was done with Meryl Streep so wonderfully playing her would not have happened if this play had not happened.
1,000%.
I believe that for sure. Now, there was another play called Glorious that came out in London, which I eventually saw a production of in this country, and it wasn't anywhere near the same. This was a very, very, very funny, wildly funny, but very poignant play about this person who really believed that she was a great artist. And as it turns out, had musical creds. She had been a pianist and a music teacher, and there's some things that come out in the movie that we did not deal with, but I believe they were probably true. Or actually, the interesting thing we found out was that nobody really knows. There's so many different versions of her story that nobody actually knows what the absolute facts were of her. So we were all taking a kind of just a shot in the dark at telling her story. But Stephen's play is a remarkable piece of writing, I believe. And it was not written for me, wasn't written with me in mind. They had done a reading of it with another actor who did a wonderful job. And to my everlasting thanks, she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to continue with it. So I auditioned like a regular person at the York Theater, and I got hired.
Wow.
And so I did it at the York, and the thing had actually been written. It was written from the point of view of her accompanist, Cosme McMoon, a real person. And the idea was that it is now 25 years after her passing, and he is playing in a piano bar in the village, and it is the anniversary of her death, and he is reminiscing, and we see scenes of their relationship. And I did it at the York with Jack. I'm trying to remember Jack's last name. It's the senior moment. Anyway, Jack, great conductor. And then he did not continue with it. The money was found to move it to then Stockbridge, Massachusetts, up there to Lenox and Stockbridge at the theater up there. So we wonderful actor who's become like my baby brother. Donald Corrin played Cosme absolutely brilliantly, and we did it up there, and then we came into what I thought was an absolutely perfect theater for us, except that nobody seems to know it's there, the Lyceum, and it's like a little opera house, so it was perfect for this piece. Perfect. and everybody who saw it loved it. Critics, some of them loved it, and some of them weren't so sure. I don't know. I don't understand it, but we didn't last very long, sadly. But it is done everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And you got a Tony nomination for that.
Yeah.
I did get a Tony nomination, and I won a one of the what is it called? The in LA, the
Ovation.
Ovation
the
Awards.
Ovation Award.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won one for that for a play, because it's a play.
Yeah.
With music. It is not. Someone said, "Are you going to do an album?" What am I going to do? An album of singing badly? I think that would really sell. I think you don't need that. Nobody needs that. But it was a very, again, a very precious experience. Just all of it, beginning to end. I still own my costumes. They were given to me, and I don't know I don't know if I'll ever do it again. But
I think this needs to be done at the Carlisle, like Elaine Stritch did at Liberty at the Carlisle, or at 54 Below.
Well, but
you could do it.
See, I don't know.
I think it'd be good.
We'd have to do a cutting of it. I don't think we could just do the play. People would be sitting there a very long time, and and it needs all of it. It needs those costumes.
Yeah.
Tracy Christensen's costumes, and unfortunately Vivian's not around to direct it anymore. More's the pity. But
so Judy, you are performing in Travis's Someday Soon, music of Judy Collins at in the Loft at City Winery on August 22nd. What makes you say yes to a project, Judy, or you're like, yeah, this is fun? Let me do this.
It's kind of like that. I had just been swatted across the planet with our show closing. And this dear person calls my agent and offers me this wonderful gig. And I thought, I think I really want to do that. And by that time, maybe I will have healed from the trauma of our show closing. And I'll get to know him, and I love this music so much. I'm going to do one of my favorite pieces, and I've done it a lot. All of us, a certain age, and have done it a lot, and I love singing it. And I'm really excited. I've heard that this venue, I've not been to this venue, but I've heard it's really, really terrific. And all of my friends who go there, who have told me that they've all signed up. They saw the name, they saw what it was, and they bought their tickets already. So that's really cool. So now, I'm just, I don't always say yes. I have often said no, but this one, there was something about it that just said, say yes, do this. And I'm there. I can't wait.
And I'm thrilled you did. But now I know that Judy Collins was friends with Hal Prince and reached out to him when she wanted to record Singing in the Clowns. Had you ever met Judy Collins along the way?
Yeah. I have met her, but I'd never, it was always kind of informal. Believe it or not, she was doing some voice work in commercials too. And we would meet in auditions.
Oh, interesting.
And when I was in college, I went to see her at the Troubadour in LA. I'm huge fan of hers. A great musician. I mean, it's beautiful pipes, beautiful voice, and classically trained.
Yeah.
Yes.
But just really, really special. So I honor her and all of those singers of that time. They were all the real deal,
Yeah, classically trained pianist. Yeah, just incredible. Yeah.
And that's 83. She's still doing this.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know that, and I'm sorry I didn't get to see her. I've got to now go out immediately and get the album.
Well, she's like I said, she was at Town Hall in December in New York, and she does something like I don't want to quote the number, but something like almost every day of the year she's performing, so I'm sure she'll be back. But yeah, she's quite an inspiration. So yeah,
she is. Well, bravo to you for honoring her this way, and I will endeavor to honor her as well.
As you will.
I can't thank you both enough for joining us for On the Rocks. What a special combination of you both on stage. So I'm sure audiences will be thrilled. Judy, what's your message to your fans? You know, you have some pretty avid fans out there.
Oh, do I?
Yes.
That's wonderful to know. Thank you with all my heart for following me and encouraging me all these years. It's been a marvelous long road, and I hope I get to keep getting out there and doing more for you. I hope there are more Broadway shows that I can, you know, that will have a place for an aging soubrette. And God bless all of you. It's just it's a journey we've all kind of made together. You make it individually, you know, you get your little union cards and you go out there and you're applying your trade and you're auditioning and just trying to get that next job. But to know that it's truly appreciated is an amazing thing that we actors and singers and dancers get to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy, so much for spending time with us. Where do you want people to find you and follow you?
Find me and follow me. Well, you know, I have a really limited online presence. I am on Instagram, but
yes, you are.
I am there, but I post stupid things. I don't really post anything that ever about my work, which is my fault. I'm not good at blowing my own horn, which is terrible in this day and age. That's what you need to do. And it's a great thing. You know, it's a great platform that we now have that people don't have to hide their proverbial lights under the bushel, you know, but I'm out there. You'll find me.
Okay.
I want to pitch to be your social media manager. That's my next
there
pitch.
You go.
That's my next pitch.
And Travis, where can people find and follow you, and where can people buy tickets?
You can find me on Instagram at Trav James on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook under my name, on Twitter as TJ Moser. And you can listen to all my music on Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere you find music, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. And you can definitely come see the show on Monday, August 22nd at 7:30 p.m. at City Winery here in New York City. And it's going to be an incredible night. We have an amazing band. Drew Woodkey is our musical director. He plays for everybody from Kelly O'Hara to Billy Gilman. He's doing a show actually a couple days later at City Winery. He's incredible. And we actually just today confirmed we have a second guest. And she is Ashley Arnold from Little Shop of Horrors, currently playing off Broadway. So she's going to do a couple. Yeah. So she's going to do a couple.
What a show!
I know it's incredible. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. So please come out. You can go to citywinery.com to find tickets. And, you know, tickets range from $20 to $40. So there's, you know, something for everybody.
Yes.
You get to see a Broadway legend like Judy Kaye. You get to see somebody up and coming like Ashley Arnold. You get to see me, who's kind of a cabaret in the cabaret recording world. So it's going to be pretty incredible. I'm excited about it. Really excited.
Again, thank you both. Let's get through the rest of COVID and let's make Broadway bright again, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Thank you so much. Well, that's it, folks. It's another grab bag of fun here on The Rocks. Big thank you to our engineer, Tony Sweet, our social media clip editor, Alexis Mendez, our researcher, Mama Rose. Please like, share, subscribe so we can continue bringing this fabulous show for you for free. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy. More importantly, stay tipsy. On The Rocks. We'll see you next time. This has been another episode of On The Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air. Find everything On The Rocks for free at ontherocksradioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.